Hey lovelies, the following video does include spoilers, so make sure to read the title of this video. If you haven't read those chapters, please press pause, read up, and I will be waiting for you when you get back. Oh, so she is just a little bit of everything, is what we're talking about. Miss DM girl. I'm so excited. Hey guys, welcome back to Lore Book Club. I am your host, Cassidy, and this week we read chapters 11 to 22 of Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. And what I can say is damn. This book continues to shock me, continues to surprise me, and I am so unbelievably excited. So let's get into it. We left off last week with our friends hiding in a tree from the Guardians. DM had jumped in front of a man with a sword and had killed a mortal, and she is reeling from these actions. But Alex says to her, if it were anyone but you, Luther would command them for being so selfless in battle. You're a credit to your father. I think that's exactly what she needed to hear because of course she's overwhelmed. She spilt mortal blood, which is like the one thing she didn't want to do. And I feel like she kind of felt like Luther was upset with her over it. But exactly what Alex is saying, he's not upset with her actions. He's just upset that it's her because his entire life is protecting her. Alex is definitely reeling over the fact that she has turned a blind eye for so many years to the mortals and is definitely believing now that the Descended have isolated themselves from the issue. And she says one of my favorite quotes, which is, "You cannot solve a problem you refuse to look at." And when she says that, she lets DM know that it's her goal to integrate the mortal army of Lumnos and the Descended army. And DM's like, people are not going to be happy about that. And she's like, I don't care. It's time for a change. And these are the moments that are so important when like Descendants start realizing that maybe they've taken things too far. Alex then again says, Your Majesty, and DM's like, girl, I think we're friends. And she gives some amazing advice. And she says, there are some whose respect I will never earn. For them, nothing I do will ever be enough. So I've learned to wield my titles without mercy. They don't have to respect me, but they do have to salute me, obey me, and address me correctly. I don't need their support, just their submission. And she goes on to say, that crown and the title that comes with it is a weapon. Don't be afraid to use it. And I think it's so important that somebody finally said this to her because DM keeps being like, yo, call me Miss Bellator, call me DM, call me whatever you want. And I'm like, no, they need to fear you, they need to respect you, and they need to know you as Your Majesty, Queen of Lumnos. She is no longer DM, she is Lumnos, and she needs to start acting like it. DM is then suddenly aware that she's completely covered in this mortal's blood and she starts absolutely crashing out, which I don't blame her, but she's like, I don't want like you guys to die for me. I don't want them to die for me. And I don't want anybody to die because of me. And they finally give her a much needed hard truth, which is, but they will, DM. There will be blood spilled by every side. Some of it will be at your command. Some may be by your own hand. And you can mourn them. You should mourn them. But you cannot carry their deaths on your shoulders. 1000%. She is trying to keep everything perfect in a little box. And it's never going to happen. First off, nobody really respects her. So nobody cares what she has to say. That's like the first point. So it doesn't matter what she wants at the moment. There is so much history between the Guardians, the Mortals, the Descended, and I feel like she's kind of playing God a little bit and being like, this is all my fault. And I'm like, it's not. It's good that you want to change something, but like, you're not responsible for every single death that has ever happened since the Blood War. But I feel like she's not like, something's not clocking with her. She's really embraced being queen, but has taken on a lot of the trauma that comes with it. Luther undresses her, which is crazy. I was like, hi. And he gives her all of his clothes so that she can finally calm down from the adrenaline of killing somebody, and she falls asleep in his arms. Now they wake up the next day in the ultimate cuddle position. Oh my God, I love cuddling me. I never understand when people can't cuddle with their partners. Like they're like, get away, I'm too hot. And I'm like, come here. I like literally fall asleep in my husband's arms every single night. So I am definitely DM, I'm with you. I'm a lover girl. But because Luther's topless, she starts kind of tracing his scar and he gets like super weird about it because obviously he's so traumatized about his scar and like kind of ashamed. But she thinks in a Descended world that demanded perfection, it was our imperfections that had bonded us together. I just really love this pair. I feel like he still does challenge her, and I hope that doesn't change. Like, you know how sometimes these like MMCs are like really intense and like challenge the FMC for ages, and then they get together and suddenly they're like a limp noodle around their partner. And I really hope that doesn't change because I feel like DM definitely needs somebody to challenge her because she's very emotional and she's very quick to react. And currently I love that Luther wants to protect her, but that he's also like not afraid to stand up to her. And I really hope that doesn't change. We then learn that Luther knew Aurelie was part of the Guardians, but she was also the best healer. So he was kind of like, better to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So she became the palace healer so he could keep an eye on her. Then a little half mortal, half descended girl got injured. He needed to smuggle her out. So Aurelie was then added to the equation to help smuggle out the children. And he ended up supplying her with like lots of medicine, food for poor families, random bits of money for the mortals that were struggling in Mortal City in an exchange for Aurelie's help. And through this relationship, they weren't friends, they were never friendly, but they saved a lot of lives. And he stopped paying attention so much and kind of let her do her own thing. She ended up spying a lot because that's what Miss Aurelie does. And then they get in a fight that day that she went missing. She was like, I know your secret, you're half mortal, and I'm going to tell everybody, and you're going to be killed 1,000,000%, because it's not allowed, first of all. But the forging day was coming, and the king needed to send a vial of his blood because he couldn't go on his own. So Luther went for him, and Aurelie was like, in exchange for your secret, I need you to take me to the island of Caril because I need to get this plant that only grows there. Now, it was flame root, but Luther didn't know that it was flame root. So she's a sneaky little girl. But Luther really does admit, he was like, the Guardians for him weren't a problem when she was in charge, and they became more of an issue when she left to Caril and Vance took over, because with Vance came violence. But her one rule was to stay away from Diem. And Luther's like, I think she thought we were gonna sleep together. And I was like, oh, yeah, and you are, because you're fated mates. Duh. Luther then tells Diem that he's known since the beginning that she was a member of the Guardians. She freaks out because she remembers, Vance, he took my blood. He's going to go to Lumnos and kill everybody. And we learn that the blood is useless because it was not given freely. So that blood is null and void, and Vance is going to have a very uncomfortable situation when he gets to the palace. Good. I don't like him one bit. Diem then tells Luther that Vance is dangerous and he's not afraid to die. And Luther's like, good, I'll gladly give him his wish. And I was like, one thing about Luther, he's gonna do whatever the it takes to take care of his girl. He's like, I don't care if I die at all. Sometimes I think he wants to. He's just always putting his life on the line for literally everybody. Diem is then really struggling, and she's like, a queen should have courage. He calls her by her full name, Diem Bellator, and she's like, what? And he says, don't you dare mistake compassion for lack of courage, he growled. Anyone can slaughter their enemies. Hate is easy. It's mercy that requires the greater strength. I'll be damned if I let you believe that beautiful heart of yours is a weakness. Trust your instincts, my queen. Above all else, trust yourself. Now, this is some really great advice from Luther, because Diem does operate with her emotions. She's not like her father, where she can take a step back and think about every side of the equation. She definitely just acts. But this is something really important, that if Luther can trust her instincts, she should be able to trust her own instincts. And I just really, really liked that. They're changing their clothes, and she's being all demure about it. And she's like, oh my God, you've seen me naked so many times. Like, by the time we get together, there's going to be nothing to do. You'll have already seen everything. And Luther drops the most insane thing. And he goes, Diem, when you and I finally get a night alone together, looking will be the least of what I do to you. I can't wait for that. When are they going to have a moment alone? It's driving me crazy. It's been driving me crazy since book 1, when he was like giving her a pat down, when he was going full TSA on her. I'm not being patient anymore. They go out into the forest, they spend the day, and Diem goes full Jungle Jane. She's showing them how to fish, how to start a fire, how to find herbs, how to tell the difference between like edible mushrooms and psychedelic mushrooms. She knows the forest like the back of her hand. And I'm like, good for you, girl. The boys wrestle, which, hot. And when she's teaching them how to start a fire, the Descended don't know how to start a fire. And Diem's like, that's like day 1 on survival skills, and they're like, we have our light magic, like we never had to do that. And she's like, your privilege is showing. And then she's like, this is the moment where I can understand the Guardians. And I was like, okay, maybe your mother's version of the Guardians, but like, how can you ever understand Vance's version of the Guardians? Because somebody can't light a fire. I don't know how to light a fire. If somebody gave me like a piece of wood and some kindling and was like, let's go, I'd be like, do you have a lighter? I don't know how to start a fire. So I was kind of like, girl, can you really understand them? Because that's crazy. While they're eating dinner, we learn that all the crowns did survive the attack, which seems crazy considering they didn't have any magic and they were literally in a bombing, but whatever. However, the fates of Lumnos and Arboros are TBA. We don't know what happened to them. Obviously, we know Lumnos is okay, but the people and descendant of Lumnos have no idea what's going on, and that she's not even in the realm. They are under the impression that she is just recovering from the coronation. But what happened to Arboros and why'd they take her? Like, I don't know, that felt weird that she was also chained up. But I don't think they would have killed her because then it just would have passed the crown. So I don't know what, I don't know. Violence is up in every single realm, and there's a powerful descendant in the north that's helping the Guardians' efforts. And Taryn and Alex are like really miffed about that because they're like, how could one of our own do that? And I'm like, again, us and them, let's do a we. Let's do a we. And then they just still don't know that DM worked for the Guardians. So she's like, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that doesn't end well. Fortos has sent soldiers into every realm, but there's a lot in Lumnos, and they think that Remus is up to no good. Now, Eleanor should be regent, but Remus is like, I'm not listening to that until I hear it from the queen's mouth herself, so he's up to no good. Aemon is still High General and Keeper of the Laws. However, he did give them leave to go find Diem, and she's like, I don't know how I should feel about Aemon, and neither do I. I think he's all talk. I think he's actually going to be really good. And I think maybe he'll sacrifice himself for Diem or something. Or like for Taryn or for somebody. And I think he's actually just playing the long game and he's more good than he lets out. Teller's obviously beside himself and is like so sad and missing his sister. And he's like, where is she? And they came back after the initial rescue attempt. And Luther was like, she's fine. Don't worry. And Taryn was like, yeah, you weren't really believable because you came back looking like you were about to kill somebody, talking about the woman you love. And Diem's like, woman he loves? And I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. Obviously, this man loves you. He would like literally do anything for you. And Taryn mentions that stupid little magic compass. And she's like, magic compass? And we learned that he had taken the gift and used the magic compass, which would find your heart's desire. And she takes it out of his pocket and places it towards her. And it goes to her, and then she touches him and it glows red. And while this is all happening, he kind of starts like rambling on, and he saw Henry, and she's like, did you hurt him? And I'm like, hopefully. But Luther says, I saw them take you on the island. Your mother had wounded me, so I couldn't walk, but I tried. Blessed kindred, I tried. I clawed my way through the dirt, screaming your name. Before I could get to you, a man came and carried you away. He crawled for her. Oh. That's like one of my favorite things is when somebody crawls for someone. I just love that so much. But he confronted Henry because he was also on the island and he's captured him. So that was all that was said about that. But I'm like 100% sure that Henry is being held in the dungeons in Lumnos. Sorey and him flew for days trying to get the bond between them to like snap into place. And then finally it did. They found her. They were sent away. And so the magical compass comes into play. Once she realizes that the greatest thing his heart wants is her, she's like, when Henry said, I love you, I ran. But like learning this, she was like, I felt like home. And I was like, oh, it's love, girl. It's love. And she goes, my heart desires you too, Luther Corbois. Oh, 10 out of 10. Phenomenal. And they are like wrapped up in each other, about to hook up. I was like reading these pages, and then this awful screeching sound entered my ear, and Vance walks in. Ugh. Shameful, your majesty. His tongue clicked disapprovingly. What will your betrothed think? She doesn't have a betrothed. Everybody needs to stop saying she's betrothed to Henry. She's the queen of Lumnos. I know she was like, pick me, choose me, love me. She was just scared. She's never loved you, Henry. She would have said yes when you proposed the first time. I don't need to see that man ever again, and I know I will. And he's gonna be disappointing. The Guardians are there. Taryn's been caught, and she's like, did Cordelia say for this? And he's like, I don't answer to Cordelia. And she's like, but this is her cell of Arboros. And all the other men kind of look uncomfortable. So Vance is definitely like pushing the limits of even the Guardians. Like he's just absolutely going off the rails. DM Loki wants to kill him, but she hears her dad's voice in her ear. And it says, giving into your emotions is the fastest way to lose a battle, he'd scolded. Your temper has always been your weakness. And then she's like, what do you want? And Vance is like, what I want, Vance snarled, is my homeland. I want the descendant to leave or die, preferably the latter. What I want is for the mortals to rule over Amarion as we always should have. Okay. And then she's like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to kill the mortal guy. And he's like, say that to his brother. And then he's like, yeah. And then he stabs Taryn. But worst off, he stabs him with Godstone. So this is already crazy. And then all hell breaks loose. Taryn takes another Godstone blade to the shoulder. They're all fighting like crazy. And then there's like an invisible force kind of like moving Diem around. And at first I thought it was like the gods or Lumnos herself, but then it's revealed that Alex's magic kind of turned on for a minute and those two were able to escape. Now they run and run and run, realizing that they've left Luther and Taryn behind, but Alex is like, they're amazing fighters, they're gonna be fine. And they run and run and run until they end up in the sand and they are in the realm of Igneos. And we learn that they're safe there because the mortals can't enter there. And I'm like, why didn't they go there from the beginning? That confused me. I mean, I get it now because like their king is actually crazy, but I was like, the mortals couldn't get there. So like, why weren't we escaping a little bit, you know, even just Forest Edge. Ugh, I don't know. They wait. We learn that there's no cure for Godstone, and Alex begins praying to the Blessed Kindred. She says, when we pray to the Kindred, we give an offering of magic, just a small drop, something to honor the gifts they bestowed. They say the magic given up in prayer is lost forever. In theory, that is, no one really knows for sure. And then she goes on to say, that's why the Kindred give the strongest magic to their most faithful servants. An ember given is a flame received. And she continues to go on and says, faith isn't always about prayer. Sometimes it's about sacrifice. So Alex is like, I'm sorry, I don't have any magic, so I can't give you any, but just please hear my prayer and I owe you. And I love that an ember given is a flame received, because the Everflame, I feel like the Kindred and the Everflame and like the old gods are all one. Like it's just gotten lost in history somehow. Taryn and Luther escape and they arrive over the border of Igneos. Now the mortals don't follow suit, but they are in bad shape, especially Taryn, who has taken 2 Godstone blades, one to the ribs and one to the shoulders. But Diem says, but before I was a prisoner of war or a queen, I was a healer, and a damn good one. I did not fear wounds or sickness. I saw them as a puzzle to be solved. I might never have the courage to take lives, but I could save them. She's then like, I don't understand why the mortals can't come over here. And then one mortal is like, I'm gonna come get you. And he's like, you stupid queen. And then he bursts into flames. And we learned that when Igneos banished all the mortals, that was like a defense mechanism that was put back into the realm, that if any mortal stepped over the border, they would just burst into flames and die. So now the Guardians are like lying wait in the forest, and they are in the middle of a desert with no water, no food, no supplies, and Taryn is low-key gonna die. And she lies and is like, don't worry, you're gonna survive this, it's okay. So Diem continues lying to Taryn that she's like, no, Godstone doesn't always have to kill, like you're gonna be fine, we just have to treat the wounds. And then we learned that Luther was going to poison Remus with Godstone, and I was like, oh, okay, he's like dark, didn't realize that. And Luther's like low-key pissed at Diem for lying to Taryn, and he says, is it right to lie to someone you love when you know death is coming, he asked finally, to let them believe the future might stretch on forever when you know your time left together is far shorter, or is that adding cruelty to tragedy? And I don't know how I feel about that. I think if somebody's gonna die anyway, you don't need to make them scared, if that makes sense. But the wound isn't looking good. They can't go into the trees because the Guardians are laying in wait. And Diem's like, you're acting like a baby, Taryn, by the flames. And he's like, you can't say that. That's illegal. And Diem says, the Everflame was here long before Lumnos was. If the Descendant and the mortals have to learn to play nice, the old gods and the Kindred do too. Awesome. Now they decide to go to the Igneous Mortal City, which is by the water. So they're walking and walking and walking in treacherous conditions. Igneos is not a piece of cake for anybody, but they can't even go into Arboros because the Guardians are following along suit where they walk in the tree line. Horrible. And Diem's thinking about Vance and what these guys have done to Taryn. And she thinks, if I took my revenge in return, it would only create new grudges, new blood feuds. Around and around we would go, hating and killing until no one was left standing. There was no good that could be born of it, and yet I hated them nevertheless. And I just feel like Diem needs to learn the difference between the Guardians, because not every Guardian is after bloodshed, but Vance is just simply evil. He's like Igneos. Those guys are like the same person. They're just mean and evil and rooted in hate, where not every Descendant is like that and not every Guardian is like that. Look at her mom. She wanted to save people. Look at Cordelia. She actively is wanting to save people, but Vance is just evil. She needs to start learning the difference. She then looks up and is questioning Lumnos' choice of making her queen, and she says, do you even choose anyone? Maybe all this talk of you choosing someone worthy is a lie made up by greedy men to convince the world that they have divine permission for all their evil deeds. Maybe you're not handing out blessings at all, and it's up to us to decide whether we become villains or heroes. And then she says, you don't get my prayers yet. Save Taryn and get us home, then we'll talk. I personally loved that. I think Penn Cole does such a great job of like relating this fantasy world to so many things in like our world. And I just think it's just so brilliantly written. I really, really, really love it. They end up at the mortal city of Igneos, and from a distance, it is idyllic. It is absolutely beautiful. There's a little lake. It's like a gorgeous little town made up of red clay houses. But the closer they get, they start seeing the skeletons. And this is a death trap war zone of the mortals that had to fled Igneos and did not get out in time. We also learned that Luther, during his fight with the Guardians with Taryn, lost the sword of Corbois. And Diem's getting really frustrated about Igneos' hatred to the mortals. And Alex says, "It wasn't always that way," she mused. Igneos used to be famous for its hospitality. The ring road was packed with shops and inns welcoming travelers. They even had patrols to help anyone lost out in the dunes. They had the least resources of all 9 realms, but they were the first to offer them up to anyone passing through. But things changed during the Blood War because they didn't want to pick a side, and then when they were made to, they almost were completely wiped off the map. And now they just have so much hatred from that experience that this is who they are today. Now, Taryn's one wound is healing, the other one is horrifying, and it is then talked about, because Vance revealed it, that Diem had been part of the Guardians. Taryn is like fuming, so is Alex, but Luther is like, if you're gonna be mad at anybody, be mad at me, because I also worked with them. Crazy. Luther storms off, Taryn storms off as well, and Alex lets Diem know that she doesn't feel any difference towards her, because now what she's seen in Mortal City back in Lumnos and what she's learned about the atrocities that the mortals have gone through, she can see through their perspective as to why they wanted things to change. But House Bennett's armory attack is mentioned, and Diem was like, "You respected me for my decision of running into the armory, but I didn't feel brave, I felt guilty." And Alex says, "Many people have reasons to feel guilty. Few are willing to sacrifice themselves to make it right." So those two are definitely on the up and up again with their friendship. And then they hear wings. They're like, it's not going to be Soiree. And the Igneos Gryvern has arrived. On the Gryvern's back is the king of Igneos and 2 of his military women. He starts saying that the sand whispers secrets to him. And he says 3 don't belong, but it's not saying anything about you because you're something different. And I'm like, yeah, she is like God tier everything. She is the mother of all realms. She doesn't feel like a crown. She feels like Igneos. I want her to go to each and every realm and figure out that she like has the magic of every single realm. Igneos starts beating on his Gryvern Tybalt, and I'm furious. I hate him. I hate how he treats his Gryvern because I know Soiree is such a sweet little love baby. And Tybalt is also just like so gorgeous. And while she's watching this, Diem says under her breath, "Gryverns read intentions, asshole, not minds." But she forgets that Gryverns have amazing hearing, and Tybalt's like, oops. The king and his guards are searching everywhere for them, and the Gryvern is like staring at Diem, and the king is like setting every single building on fire. And right before they get to where Diem and Alex stand, the Gryvern calls for the king and is like, they escaped to the dunes. So the Gryvern, who is normally supposed to save the life of the king, saves the life of Diem and Alex in turn. As soon as they leave, Diem crashes out. She's trying to find Taryn and Luther. She's like, they're going to be dead. She thinks they're dead, but they had been able to escape into a cellar before they were killed by fire. She says, I make the decision. We're going to Umbros tomorrow. We need to rest through the night. And everybody's like, we can't go to Umbros. And she's like, I'm your queen. We're going to Umbros. And everybody's like, yes, your majesty. They kind of give attitude though, but okay. When Alex and her change shifts, she's like, I'm so tired. I need to go to bed. No, she doesn't. She sees Luther bathing, which is sad because he doesn't want anybody to see his scars. But she runs off and escapes into the dunes of Igneos. Now, the next morning, she returns, and Luther is like, where were you? And she says that she went into Arbros to get medicine and to get some food, to get some water, because they needed these necessities, and she works better alone in the forest. And Luther's furious. He like breaks a table in half, losing the plot, and she says, yes, Luther, I am the queen. I clipped. If I want to risk my life, that's my decision to make. I'm sick of being treated like a flower to be fenced off from any stomping feet. That's not who I am, and it's not the kind of queen I want to be. I'm not planning to sit on a throne and look pretty. I'm planning to fight. I thought you, of all people, understood that. I swallowed. I thought you believed in me. Crazy. He doesn't even answer. He leaves. Alex follows after her. And Taryn and her still really aren't talking. She's like, sit down, take your tunic off. I need to put this salve on your wounds. And she accidentally cuts her hand, and a little bit of the blood goes into the bowl of like the salve. And I was like, that's weird, but she didn't have enough to go get more herbs, so she just keeps making it. Taryn's like, tell me what actually happened. We learned that basically she almost died. She got chased by some guardians. She got the stuff, but she sneezed and they saw her. She ran. She had to swim naked through the sea. It was just like an absolute hot mess, but she got back. And because of this and the sacrifice that she made for Taryn, they make up. Finally. Now the four of them are on their way to Umbros and they're walking along the coastline and Diem's like, I am burning up. I am so hot. And they're like, why? Like, it's not even hot out. It's freezing. And she's like, that's weird. So they are like, you've been poisoned because you have a fever. And she's like, I haven't been poisoned. I know what berries I can eat. But she's like on fire. And then they see a couple of guards from Igneos up ahead. So they put on their scarves and they're keeping their eyes downcast. They go up there, letting them know that they wanted to attack some guardians, and after what happened on Kareel, they want to get to Umbros. They just want safe passage. They apologize for being in the dunes. Everything's going fine, and they continue on. But one of them goes up behind Diem and tries to pull down her scarf, which would reveal her white hair and her gray eyes. And Luther's like, get your hands off my mate. Mate. She's like, what did you say? And I was like, what did you say? Mate. Oh, hell yeah. Oh my God, I can't wait till they become bonded mates. Something about me, I love a bonded mate. Oof. Diem then orders Alex that if all hell breaks loose, that she needs to take Taryn to Umbros to get his wounds healed. And that is an order from her queen. But she is burning alive and she's like, I actually can't take it anymore. And she starts undressing in the middle of the sand dunes. The water on her is like immediately evaporating. She takes her hood off. She's like burning up and her godhood speaks to her and says burn. Now she's only ever heard fight, destroy. She's never heard burn. She's like, Luther, get off me. I don't want to hurt you. And he's like, what's going on? She goes into the sea. It's like boiling around her. And she lets go and she burns. She is on fire and she's like, it doesn't hurt, it burnt in the most beautiful, pleasurable way. And she's like having this like massive release, almost like what happened when she released her light magic, but she thinks she's dead. And she says, perhaps the great sacred tree had found my soul worthy and was welcoming me into the warmth of the undying fire. Now that's interesting. Maybe that's like the fire element has to do with her mortal side. And she doesn't have every single magic from each realm. I don't know. I'm putting my hands in all these honeypots trying to figure out what's going on. The guards shoot fire into the sky, assuming they're calling for backup. Tybalt the Gryvern, the king of Igneos, and a bunch of his guards arrive. Now they're all women, and they don't really seem to like Igneos, to be honest. But the Gryvern looks at Diem and kind of gives like a warning to her of like fire, but like doesn't attack her. And she says, it was a warning that it would defend its king, that it had to defend its king, whether it wanted to or not. And Diem is like, curious, because I don't think Tybalt likes his king at all. She then learns from Igneos that she is wanted by all of the crowns of Amorion for questioning. Crazy. And then Luther's like, I'll do anything to protect her. And I'm like, Luther, babe, back up. You're gonna die. And then like, what's it for? They're using fire magic to fight with them. And she has a shield up and she's like, it's gonna break. And then she looks at Luther and she's like, do you trust me? And he said, always. She drops her shield and all of their attacks hit her in the back. And she feels like her magic is being revived. The same thing that happened at the challenging with Ronnie when he was giving her attacks. And then Igneos says, you're not leaving my realm, half-breed. If you refuse to fight like a descended, then we'll kill you like a mortal. And I think that's the worst thing he could have said, because she was like, one thing about me is I like a sword and I like to fight. Now, this fight is a mess. The girls in Igneos' side they're not really taking a lot of risks. They're not like putting their lives on the line, but they are fighting nonetheless. And then Luther gets stabbed. It's all a mess. She's like, take me. He's like, no. And then Diem jumps in front of a Fortesian steel knife right in the chest. Now, I don't know why she did that, because if that knife would have hit Luther, it wouldn't have penetrated his flesh. Can somebody explain that to me? I reread it like 50 times and I couldn't figure it out. So she's dying, and then she says to Luther, like, use your magic because I can feel it. And he lets all hell break loose. And she's like, there is no way I am stronger than him with my magic. Like, his magic is terrifying. He kills everybody, and then he's attacking the king of Igneos, and the king's magic is like this big compared to Luther's, which is crazy because he's not even a crown. He's about to kill him, and then the Gryvern looks at Diem, and Diem's like, shit, we can't kill him because then the Gryvern's gonna kill Luther. She spares the king's life. Don't know how that's gonna end up, but the Gryvern then looks at her and she's like, take him away. I'm sorry I couldn't save you this time. He's like frustrated, but he takes her away. And I'm like, why can she talk to that other Gryvern? Can all the crowns talk to each other's Gryverns? Like, I feel like that's not the case. But she's dying. It's just her and Luther. And then she's like literally in and out of consciousness. She says, use your magic. He like wraps her in it and she's like, no, I need you to attack me. He's like, huh? And then he does. And it like revives her. And it's almost like she gets shocked back to life. And then she's alive again. Cool. Taryn and Alex show back up. Luther's pissed that Alex didn't follow through on the oath of the Royal Guard because that is to protect the crown at all cases. And this was like the first time that Alex kind of disobeyed Luther as the general and more listened to Diem. But they're all better and they walk into Umbros. Now, the city of Umbros is like the infamous city of shadows and it is built into the mountain. It's like spooky, but there's also so much life. Like it's like a huge market. You can buy, you can sell everything. And Diem can hear the voices of every single person inside. So I am 100% convinced that she has the magic of every single realm. But something that she loves is as she looks around, there's a mixture of eyes. So these people all live and work together. Descended, mortal, it doesn't matter. And then it said, Umbros was a wild, lawless place, but one fundamental principle underpinned each and every clandestine arrangement. No matter who you were or what you sold, the Queen of Umbros always got her cut. Now, we knew from the beginning that when the Blood War happened, the Queen of Umbros rounded up all the Descended and killed everybody except the 100 strongest Descended. Now, these are called the Sentries, and they are responsible for taking like the taxes of every single person, and they can read all of like the mortals' minds, but the Queen of Umbros can read their minds, so it's like a foolproof system. Now Luther is like, we need to go talk to my contact because he's gonna get us out of here, and he is the Jaguar. I met him through your mom. Him and Aurelie have too much lore, but he's like, he will get a safe passage. But Diem's kind of thinking like, I low-key want to go talk to the Queen of Umbros because out of everybody, even at the coronation, it was like she knew that her blood was going to crack the Kindred Stone. And of course she would, because Umbros knows everything. She can read everybody's minds. And I like the Queen of Umbros. She might be like a tax fiend, but like, I kind of like her vibe from day one. She's the reason Diem is in this place anyway, because she told her to stop taking her flame root powder. They arrive at the inn where the Jaguar should be, and the woman working the desk is from Lumnos. And so she will be one of the people who, if she paid the tithe to the Queen of Umbros, she can live in Umbros and use her magic freely, which is super interesting because I don't think any other realm has that practice in place. A man comes out with like insane aura. Diem can feel it, but Luther doesn't have any magic, and he's like, the Jaguar's not here, you're in the wrong spot, and she releases some of her magic, and he's like gagged. He's like, well, we have this inn and we definitely have a room suited for a prince. So now it's clicked that they know it's Luther. He turns to leave and they're like, where are you going? And he's like, my staff will take care of you. And then it's done. And we are left off in Umbros at an inn that is owned by some of the descendant of Lumnos. Woof. These were some meaty chapters. A lot happened. I loved going to different realms. It was the same when I read ACOTAR for the first time. The first time like we went to like the Autumn Court or the Night Court. I love seeing how the different realms operate. I just loved every second about that. I'm so excited to see what's to come, and I'm 99.9% sure that the Queen of Umbros is going to come to this inn, and we're finally going to get some more information about what in God's green earth is going on with Diem. And I can't wait. Our book boyfriend of the week is none other than Prince Luther Corbois, because he's a ride or die for Miss Diem. There is nothing that boy won't do for our girl, so of course he has to be our book boyfriend of the week. Our power scale starts with the King of Igneos because he got his shit rocked by Luther Corbois. Also, hate how he treats his Gryvern. He's at the bottom. Then we have Alex because she was so helpful with being able to hide people with her magic when it came back, and she's shown her strength by listening to Diem's word rather than Luther's. And I know that that's like a hard thing with him being like the general and her being the vice general, but at the end of the day, it's the crown's word that matters. Then we have Luther because he went absolutely God mode on the Igneos people. Like, that was crazy. And Diem was right. She's like, how did I get this job? Like, he is so strong. It's shocking. Also, he kind of went Shadow Daddy scary. I kind of loved it. And our most powerful this week is Diem Bellator because she has the magic of Igneos, and I'm assuming she must have the magic of all of the places. She could talk to the Gryvern, which makes me think of Arboros, how they can talk to animals. So I'm like, I feel like there's something there. I'm on the verge of something great. Our spice meter this week is a sensible 0 because they are dirty, on the run, rotten scoundrels. There is no inn with one bed in sight. Although maybe an Umbros. Please. Please. However, our tension does remain at 3 stars out of 5. The tension between Luther and Diem is just constantly simmering. That water wants to boil so badly, and I am just waiting for it to. I cannot wait for them to finally be together. Now, our quote of the week is one of my favorites, and it says, "You cannot solve a problem you refuse to look at." Now that is tea. That is piping hot tea. And it relates to actually every single thing in the entire world. So everybody think on that. I feel like I literally need to journal on that. Now, everybody's favorite time of the week. Would I survive these chapters of Heat of the Everflame? Chapter 11, yes, I would survive because I can get cozy with my man in a tree. Chapter 12, yes, I would survive spending the day showing my friends the forest. Chapter 13, yes, I would survive realizing that I low-key love Luther Corbois. Yeah, I'd survive that. Chapter 14, no, I would not survive Vance and his henchmen's attack on me and my friends. I don't have the skill set. Chapter 15, yes, I would survive escaping to Igneos because I am a pretty good runner. I think I could outrun the Guardians. Chapter 16, yes, I would survive hiding from the king in Igneos' mortal city. Chapter 17, yes, I would survive escaping into the night on a little side quest to get medicine and food. Chapter 18, yes, I would survive pulling rank and absolutely queening out amongst my friends. Chapter 19, no, I would not survive the heat stroke from being in Igneos and realizing I have the magic of fire. I don't think I'd survive that. I prefer the cold. I'm from Canada. Chapter 20, no, I would not survive bursting into flames. I just don't think I would make it through that one. Chapter 21, no, I would not survive a blade to the chest. I would not. And chapter 22, yes, I would survive my first day in Umbros. Now, I absolutely loved these chapters this week. I'm so excited to continue into part 2 of the story. For next week, please read chapters 23 to 34, and I cannot wait for Wednesday. Let me know what you guys thought of these chapters. Are we loving Heat of the Everflame? Do we also think that she's like the Queen Almighty and like has power over all the realms, or is that just me? Make sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube. Hit that bell so you never miss a video, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok where I post funny little videos every single day. I'm so excited to continue reading this, and I will see you guys next week. Happy reading. Love you. Bye.